you can see the bumper going on the front of Gabriele Tarquini. Tarquini will line up third, Mehdi Benani fourth. Now, Sitchin are tweeting that race 2 has been declared wet. Well, it must be raining somewhere, but as we can see, it's not raining in the pit lane, or can we? Is there a spot of moisture on that lamp lens?
Yeah, he has picked up some damage there. Yeah. But interesting hearing Montero that...
Just having a catch up with the Queen of the Ring, Sabine Schmitz. That was quite a battle you had there with Jaap. Looking ahead to race 2, what's your strategy? Is it different to race 1?
Yes, after a good race, it's easy to do a second race right behind. The problem is only that I'm further back on the grid. So hopefully I have a good start as I had before, and then we can see if I can have a little advantage in the first chicane.
Great stuff. Sabine, I know you're about to go out. Best of luck.
Well, Sabine Schmitz will start in 15th place on the race 2 grid.
Yeah, as I was saying before, it's interesting interviewing Montero that he was saying he was hit by Volante. We almost need to go through the drivers who weren't hit by Volante in that first race.
Well, you know...
he was definitely putting it about a bit, wasn't he?
Considering the first 3 kilometres were the first 3 kilometres of a very long lap, there was an awful lot of damage. And again, said that earlier on, you can certainly lose a race in the first corner, and there was quite a few who did. Thiago Montero, though, will start on pole for race 2 from Tom Coronel and Gabriele Tarquini. Mehdi Benani will be the best placed Sitchin in 4th. Ivan Muller will start 5th, and that perhaps is the danger area. Benani 4th, Muller 5th, Ma in 6th. If you're in front of those 3, you better make sure that you're on the inside line going down into that first right-left wriggle, because otherwise they will be passed and gone. Jose Maria Lopez will start in 10th place with Hugo Vallant in 9th, if his car is okay. Again, we haven't seen or heard from that car yet. So wait to see what happens with Vallant. There may be a space on the grid. I think it's too late for them to shuffle everybody forward. Loeb should start 8th, Michaelis 7th, and then the 3 Sitchins, Ma 6th, Muller 5th, Benani 4th. Again, Benani's car looked like it had taken a bit of a clatter in the first lap, and he sort of seemed quite quick on lap 1, but then dropped pace a little bit on the subsequent laps. So Thiago Montero, the damaged Tom Coronel from race 1, he will join him on the front row of the grid. Tarquini and Benani on row 2. So there's an opportunity here with all the big brass from Honda over from Japan. Just about anybody who's got a parking space and the key to the VIP washroom in Japan is here. They start on the front 2 rows. Ivan Muller, Qinghua Ma, Norbert Michaelis and Sebastian Loeb on rows 3 and 4. And then on row 5, potentially Hugo Vallant, and certainly, I think, Jose Maria Lopez. So Tom Chilton might find a little bit of space to wriggle with away from the start if Vallant's not on the grid in front of him. John Philippi, impressive in race 1. And so too from the back of the grid was Jaap van Lagen. He again starts 17th. He didn't set a qualifying time, then had a subsequent engine change. So the fact that he's even allowed to start in Germany at all is probably a bonus from the penalties that have been racked up. Well, the cars are still in pit lane, getting ready to head to the grid here at the Nürburgring in Germany. Cars being repaired, ready for race 2 here at the Nordschleife. And Qinghua Ma's Citroën C-Elysée is being taped up. Just criticising the fact that they're using black tape on white bodywork now, Matt. They're going over that with white tape to make it look better. So belt and brace is being used by Citroën. That's proper rally mechanicking.
Well,
there.
maybe we've finally spotted a chink in the Citroën.
I don't think so. I think they've got most things covered. They had white gaffer. They were just putting in an undercoat of black to hold it all together. Well, you know, and on this track, who knows what the vibrations, the jumps, the bounces, and the high-speed aero, and there's a lot of high-speed aero here, is going to do to a single layer of gaffer. Ma starts in 6th. with Sebastian Loeb right behind him, teammate Ivan Muller ahead and in front of him, and of course on the row behind them, Jose Maria Lopez, our race 1 winner. Still no sign yet, no word from Campos Racing as to whether Hugo Vallont's car will return to the track after substantial damage in race 1. Matt, you have to suggest, since it was stuck out on the Grand Prix track, actually there's not much time for it to be repaired.
It'd be a great shame. I mean, at least it's on the Grand Prix circuit rather than out in the woods somewhere.
Well, maybe we'll get a camera down to Campos Racing to see the state of that car as everybody heads out, though. Let's hear from Tom Chilton.
Gaffer tape for Tom Coronel, but he will be going out for race 2. Tom Chilton, however, is still standing here, and there's an awful lot of water coming out of your car. What happened?
Yeah. One of the reasons I can't keep going is because the gravel has gone through the radiator and punched a hole in it, because Valente came off on his own as usual, and it's ripped gravel about 100 miles an hour through my radiator. And yeah, I ran 15 minutes in the race with no water in the engine to finish. And
so your engine now?
Engine needs to be checked at RML before Moscow, but definitely can't fix it in 10 minutes for the next race, so absolutely gutted.
I don't even know what to say, Tom. That is just horrendous news. You mentioned earlier on, I spoke to you, that you guys maybe didn't have extra parts. Where does that set you up for Moscow?
Yeah, I don't think there's any spare engines. I think maybe there's one for everyone, so if I use it, there's no more spares. But it depends how bad the engine is. If it's not too bad, it's okay. If it's bad, then it's a problem. But I'm just very, very frustrated with the whole weekend, to be honest. I ended up putting last year's setup back on the car for FP warm-up this morning, and I was P1 by 2.5 seconds to Thiago and Sebastian Loeb, and I'm a bit frustrated I hadn't run that all year till now, because I think our winter testing led us astray because of the temperatures. And I will be back on the top step shortly, but it's just very frustrating that we're here in front of 250,000 people. I'm waving helicopter down the straight. It's a pretty cool event, and I wanted to be on the podium, not sat in the pit lane watching everyone else. But I can cheer my teammate on. He's starting second for race 2.
Thanks, Chile.
Well, you can see the hole in the headlight, Matt. He was properly scattergunned by the gravel from Hugo Vallont's massive off. So Tom Chilton will not start. Tom Coronel, his Royal teammate, is on the front row of the grid, though. And you can see Tom's tweet. He got contact on lap 1, and hopefully he will be able to start P2 on the race 2 grid and make the most of that. Still no word on what's happening with Hugo Vallant. He should be 9th. Chilton should have been 11th on the grid. So Graham Chilton there, Tom's dad. And
yeah, Chilton just explaining about the gravel being fired back. One, it's been, you're approaching it at 150 odd mile an hour, and it's been fired back off a spinning wheel in front of you. So it's the closing speed of that gravel. It's like being in a shot blaster with rocks being flying at you and the car. So it will go straight through an aluminium radiator, and we just saw those the headlights. They're toughened perspex, so they're tough pieces of kit to survive in the riggers out there, and it's just just shattered it.
And of course, the other thing is they do have grills in front of the radiator. We often see them covered with grass, and that's precisely to stop stuff going through the radiator. But if the gravel is big enough and moving fast enough, it's going to go through the radiator and anything else in its path.
A disastrous start for you there, terrible race, and also not so good for some of the other drivers in the pack as well. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling really, really disappointed. I mean, my start was bad, but I think all the Chevrolet had a bad start, so it's something we're working on, and clearly it was not the right way. We did some adjustment on my clutch after the warm-up this morning, and I had lost all sensibility on the pedal. So it was either I would stall like I did getting off the grid, or I would have so much wheel spinning that it was just uncontrollable. So I think I was maybe fourth or fifth by the first corner, and then Ma hit me because he was in the inside, and obviously they have a tank with Citroën, so he hit me. He knew he was not going to have anything, and it would ruin my race. So that's the way it goes. I'm sure he's not going to get a penalty for that, because whatever Citroën does on track, they never get a penalty. So yeah, that's the way it goes, I guess. But what can I say? You know, it's a real shame, because it's awesome to drive around here, and then my car was completely all broken down. I had my steering wheel was completely to the right, so I had a lot of understeer and a lot of oversteer depending on which corners, and it was just very hard. See you.
I might want to apologise to Norbert Michelis for nearly putting him in the pit wall at the start before focusing on what other drivers did.
And Tom Chilton.
But again, you know, looking back at that incident on the Grand Prix track, I did wonder when we saw it again whether actually his rear suspension was broken as it happened, because the car got really sideways and really out of control in a position where it really shouldn't have. So maybe it was just snapping away from him unexpectedly. However, he won't start, Tom Chilton won't start, so 9th and 11th on the grid, a big gap in front of Rob Huff's Lada. So they head away from the grid. Final formation lap, and lots of wheel spin behind from Sabine Schmitz. So they dive into the first corner, and away we go, out onto the Grand Prix circuit. Thiago Monteiro escaping from the start, but look at right behind him with the Y on the roof, Ivan Muller. Third, Gabriele Tarquini. Fourth, Tom Coronel. Everybody just about escaped. Who's on the dirt there? Is that Lopez going by Ma, or Ma going by Lopez? It's one or the other of the Citroens.
Martin, I don't know what happened there, because like we're catching us out with the start, but
wow, all the guys in formation lap,
all the girls with
all
the girls with the pit boards were just running off the grid after the start. So there's something's gone on there.
Well, I'm glad it wasn't just me. I think the race accidentally started there somehow. And Sabine Schmitz is at the back, but out front is our poleman, Thiago Monteiro. So the race has been declared wet, and we're going to find out now why, aren't we, as they head out onto the Grand Prix circuit. There's a big Citroën battle going on behind, and I want to see more of that as we get down to the end of the Grand Prix circuit.
Well, the timing screen's taking a long while to catch up.
It'll be the end of the first sector. Loeb is in front of us, so he got shuffled right to the back of the pack. So Lopez in front of him, or is it Ma? No, there is Ma, then Lopez, then Loeb on the outside, and in comes Huff. Ooh, makes contact with Loeb. That's a short track to break something on the Lada, I'm afraid. That's like making contact with a brick wall.
Another car we've lost is Michelitz.
Where's Norby then?
No sign of
Norby. So did he not make the grid? Did he not make it off? We can't see the grid from where we're sat. There is Norby crawling round, crabbing, broken rear suspension. Now, is that a first corner incident from this race, or a legacy of the last race? Well,
I don't know.
Race 1 was entertaining. Race 2, not quite sure what's going on at the moment. Thiago Monteiro leads. That much we do know. The race appears to be on. They're on the Nordschleife, so this is definitely not a warm-up lap. There's a big gap behind the leaders. Norbert Michelis heading to the pit lane. We already do not have Hugo Vallant and Tom Chilton, who failed to make the grid from damage in race 1. And all sorts of bumping and boring between the Citroens. Now, challenging for the lead immediately is Ivan Muller. Matt Neal, Muller has got to take this, because there's a huge battle going on behind. He doesn't care about that. All he cares about is getting in front of Monteiro and getting away.
Yeah, Muller's definitely zeroing in on Monteiro, but he's got Tarquini closing in on the pair of them, so he's going to be in a Castrol Honda sandwich before he knows what's happened.
I tell you what, Muller will be all arms and elbows now. Nobody is going to get by him And he's going to do, oh, big slide from Ivan. He's going to do everything he can to get by Thiago. And he needs to do it fast, because as you say, Tarquini is closing in, and Gabrielli's got nobody close behind him. The other Citroens are all still bumping and banging behind. And there is your lead battle. Montero has not escaped enough, nothing near enough. And Tarquini is suddenly seeming to be the fastest car. Tom Coronel holding up Mehdi Benani, and then Qinghua Ma, and then Lopez, and then Loeb. So that's Ma in front of us.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting when we get to the main straight, see the slipstream going on with these boys.
Well, at the moment, fastest man in the train is Ivan Muller, and he is in second place behind Thiago Montero. But looking back from Coronel, don't forget Tom Coronel started on the first row of the grid, so perhaps like us, he was caught by surprise. Grid girls still on the grid, and suddenly the lights changing. We didn't see the green flag at the back, we didn't see the lights come on. Clearly they did, otherwise nobody would have left the grid.
I can only think it must have caught a few of the drivers out as well, with Loeb going backwards.
Yep, no kidding.
Michelit's getting tagged from somewhere.
So climbing now all the way up from Ex-Muller towards Bergwerk. We're into sector 4 of the lap already. And there is your lead trio. And right now, Thiago Montero and Gabriele Tarquini matching Ivan Muller for pace. Muller's not closing on Montero. He's not losing Tarquini behind him.
You can see the speed of that Citroen going up this steep climb here.
Well, that's just grunt, isn't it? Like I always say, coming out of Spa, ain't no substitute for cubes, and here he comes.
Which side are you going to go?
Well,
and when you think the Citroen is carrying 60 kilos more as well.
Muller can't quite find a way by Montero. But I tell you what, all he's got to do is sit there and wait for Dottinger Her, and he's going to go by past them on the straight like there's no tomorrow. Heading up towards the carousel. Through the right-hander. Famous names on the track, Frank Bielers you pick out there. There's any number of checkered flags and pedestrian crossings around this track, painted on by the fans. Out of the carousel comes Montero, still in front, but nowhere near in front enough. And the group behind, led by Coronel, that's a massive 5 or 6 car slipstreaming gaggle. All they've got to do is be a bit disciplined, and they will all go faster than the cars in front.
Yeah, Coronel's definitely the cork in the bottle for that second group, but while he's there, this lead trio are managing to get away. Muller's just got to keep in check through Franz Garden.
Yep.
Just so he can get to the mini carousel, and then he's got on to the main straight after that.
Down through Wippelmann, and then over the brow, left at Eschbach, right at Brunchen. And this group working together with the Larders both in it, Huff and Van Lagen. I think Coronel may be closing on the 3 in front, because he's being pushed along. All right, he's breaking the air for all these guys, but the buffer effect, they're all starting to push each other along as well. They will go quicker as a group than if any one of them tries to break away. Exactly the same as you see in cycle racing, the Giro or any of the Grand Tours. That group works much better aerodynamically together than they will as singletons.
Yeah, just looking back from Coronel's car at Mehdi Benani. Mehdi Benani is showing flashes of brilliance this weekend and super speed, but he is...
Here he comes, look at him go here. Looking around the outside, he was very quick through the Flansgarten section, Matt.
I was about to say, he showed flashes of immense speed, but he is a bit of a loose cannon on deck. He's been off more times than he'd probably care to remember, but he has got the speed in that Citroen to move and attack Coronel.
But now, look, they've all sucked up behind him as well. Ma and Loeb and Lopez in the middle of that quartet of Citroens.
This is going to be a 160-mile-an-hour game of chess down here.
It is. This is a Monza slipstreamer par excellence, and it's Coronel that's broken free. It's Benani that's in trouble. Here comes Ma in the white car, and Benani is closing, but not enough on Coronel, or is he? Tom's dead in the water. Ivan goes straight by for the lead, passes Thiago as we knew he must do. He was so close, and the Citroen has so much horsepower. And Coronel goes down to third as the slipstreaming pair Bernani and Mar go through. Coronel trying to hold off Lopez, and Lopez and Loeb will be working together now for the next lap to try and get by the Dutchman, unless they can get by him on the Grand Prix loop, and that's not beyond the bounds of possibility either. But Coronel hung out to dry as the other two Citroens just went speeding by. Muller leads, Montero second, Tarquini third, and then fourth and fifth, Bernani and Mar. And I wouldn't mind betting that Bernani and Mar will be challenging. Lopez goes one side and Loeb goes the other, and they both go by Tom Coronel down into turn one. Coronel lost 4 places there on that 2 miles of track.
You'd normally say the Chevrolet's very aerodynamically efficient at the high speed. They've got good engine power, so it's that's a shocker to be eaten up that much by the Citroens.
Well, the Citroen clearly has more than enough pace, especially when they start off in Coronel's slipstream. Right at the tail of the field, Sabine Schmitz having a dust up with Gregoire de Moustier, and de Moustier will be learning an awful lot here from the black car in front of him. And Stefano D'Aste came by us stone last. He's in 14th place. Norby in the pits, joining Vallant and Chilton in the list of those not on track at the moment. Vallant and Chilton didn't start, and Norby retired after the first couple of corners on the Grand Prix track. And now...
Was that Loeb sneaking through Lopez?
Yeah, the introductory battle of the Citroens, or was that Lopez going by Mar? Let's see, D'Aste's coming in with damage on the car. The splitter has dropped. Looks like he has run into the back of somebody.
That certainly hasn't been done by Stone.
It was Lopez trying to go by Mar, and he's still trying to go by Mar. Onto the Grand Prix, up to the top of the Grand Prix circuit. They come, and now swinging out left. Mar's offline. Here's a chance for Lopez. Mar somehow gets the nose tucked back in as they drop into Brunchen, but the big S is for Seb Loeb behind, and then Coronel and Huff. Well, Coronel and Huff somehow are going to have to try and stay in the wake of this trio of Citroens, because the white cars are fast enough to maybe catch Bernani and also drag them along with them.
The problem for Lopez is if he tries to concentrate on Martovich, one, he's going to be hurting his tyres, but Loeb's going to seize any opportunity he can behind him.
Yeah.
He should get a good draft from here. We get on the run down to the Flugplatz.
It's a very long, fast section.
So he'll have a big outbraking opportunity at the bottom into Arnberg.
Bernani could be on the podium here. He's in 4th place behind the 2 Castrol Hondas. They're getting a lot of air there now, aren't they? On board with Lopez, chasing Qinghua Ma. There's our helicam right overhead. Here they come. Ma, Lopez, Loeb, and Lopez has shaken off Loeb just enough, maybe. And Ma very wide, and Lopez goes very deep on the inside, and the result of that is down into Arnberg. He's all over him. Huff all over Coronel as well. We know the Lada was the fastest car in the speed traps on the back straight at the end of the lap in the free practice session. So Huff, if he can stay tucked up behind Coronel for the remaining 20 kilometers, may get a chance to breeze by him. Oh, and Coronel's car looks a little bit of a handful. He backed off the wing before race 1. I wonder if he's put it back up again. I don't think it looks like it. He went for a bit less drag, and that means it's a bit more twitchy in the fast corners, of which, Matt, there are more than a few.
You'd have to say, thank goodness he did back the rear wing off. Otherwise, where would he be in a straight line compared to the others?
There's your race leader, Ivan Muller. Thiago Montero in 2nd, Gabriele Tarquini in 3rd. And Muller is starting to pull away from the 2 Castrol Hondas behind as the red, white and green car in 4th place of Mehdi Bernani continues to close in.
Lopez want to get a move on here, because after Muller's first race finish, Lopez is nowhere near Muller's first race finish. So at the end of the weekend, Muller would be king of the ring, which is the accolade they all want to walk away with.
Well, they'll have a winner piece, so I think maybe that's Yeah, Lopez doesn't worry too much about losing the odd point here. Plunging down the hill into Breitscheid, and then starting the climb now. As his fiancée Victoire watching Jose Maria Lopez. Loads of men in red watching the screens here. What's going to be interesting towards the end of the lap is what happens with Mehdi Benani and the Castrol Hondas. At the moment, Honda 2 and 3, Benani in 4th, but he is well placed and could easily slipstream by. Jose Maria Lopez taking a little pause behind Qinghua Ma, or losing ground to him, one or the other. And they're closing on Benani. In fact, Benani has dropped right back off the 2 Hondas, and that's exactly what Tarquini wanted to see, or not see rather. No Benani in his mirrors. And look at Montero and Tarquini now together, Matt. They'll be quicker than they are on their own. They don't have to tow along Benani, although look, as they start to climb uphill.
Benani's Citroen just sucks them in, going up there. Look at him, pull him in. They need to start working as a pair, definitely, not try and scrap with each other.
Oh my goodness. This is like being a sprinter on a mountain stage with a hill climber behind you, just relentlessly closing. And Benani, from being nowhere at the carousel, is right there with the Hondas. And so too are Ma and Lopez. Behind our race leader, Ivan Muller in the white Citroen. A fantastic battle in prospect for second place. For the podium spots, we have at least 5 cars going for second or third. Thiago Montero and Gabriele Tarquini on the left of your shot in the Hondas. Then the red roof and the green and white colours of Mehdi Benani. The first of 3 Citroens in a row. It's Benani, Qinghua Ma and Jose Maria Lopez.
You have to say the Hondas look as though they've closed Muller down a wee bit through that.
Again, yes,
whether
they
it's
do.
damp or Muller's playing it safe, but the Hondas are holding their own to the Citroens through the technical section. Just get to the straight. There is no substitute for horsepower, is there?
Especially if it's a hill. Ooh, Lopez right underneath Ma's back bumper again, and just gets his nose out of the way. Ma, I think, catching him out there, being a little slower through that section than he expected. And Benani not quite close enough as we get to Flansgarten, to the Castrol Hondas in front. But again, there is a little climb up towards the mini carousel, and anytime the road goes up, horsepower is going to count. From Coronel looking back at Huff, and behind him Filippi, and behind him you can see the yellow of Jaap van Lagen's Lada Vesta. So is Huff going to be able to get by Coronel at the end of the lap? He's certainly close enough, Matt. If we saw the slipstream effect on lap 1, we're going to see it again in lap 2 as they drop into the mini carousel, and a mistake there from Coronel. The car a little wayward under braking. Huff now breathing in his exhaust fumes.
Yeah, this next section's very critical onto the main straight. If Huffy can get a clean run onto here and a good slipstream. Oh, Coronel's done well.
Yeah, but he's giving the toe, and it's a mile-long straight. This is longer than anywhere at Monza. And here comes Ivan Muller. Behind him, the 2 Castrol Hondas, and then Benani, Ma. That's the battle for 4th place. Benani not close enough to challenge the Castrol cars. Here comes Ma, pulls himself out of the slipstream. He's got 500 or 600 RPM more and tucks back in front. And here comes Lopez. Is he going to have a run at Benani? Maybe not here, but maybe on the Grand Prix loop. Oh, he's getting close as they get into the braking area, but he's not close enough. They swerve around through Hohenrhein, and there's the Grand Prix circuit in front of them. Muller crosses the line at the end of lap 2 to go on to the final lap here as the race leader. And the gap is out from 0.8 to 1.8. Huff did get by Coronel, and Filippi and Van Lagen are closing in on Tom as well. Perversely, Tom's backed off the rear wing and is still losing places on the straight as Lopez goes outside, inside Benani, hops the curb, and Mehdi Benani avoids contact there with the championship leader, as you would hope he would. And really, Lopez there taking just a little bit of a liberty with the Moroccan driver, but trusting that they could run wheel to wheel, because he made the move and then made it stick.
I'll be critical, but that was a nice, neat I'll be critical when I need to be or want to be, but that was a nice, neat move of Lopez. He went down the outside. Bernani got a wee bit held up by Ma. He just put it down the outside, drove all the way around, and then he had the inside line in the apex for the next.
Yeah. Whoa, close to the tail of Ma's car.
Inches.
Yeah. And Bernani did well to avoid contact there. Lopez picked up the spot.
I think that's more of a smile of relief.
Yeah, exactly. It could all have gone really quite pear-shaped there. So Lopez up to 5th. Where did Ivan finish in race 1?
3rd, wasn't he?
3rd place.
Yeah.
So Ivan Muller leads here. Tiago Monteiro, Gabriele Tarquini still on the Grand Prix track here. Coming up to the Vidal chicane.
Now these two Castrol cars are going to need to try and gap.
Look how close they all are now on this Grand Prix circuit. I tell you what, if we were racing on the Grand Prix circuit, the Citroens would not be getting away. This is Huff going by Coronel and Philippi going, do I follow Huff? Do I follow Tom? Which way am I going to go? How much room is left? Coming by the taxi Farin and
He's getting close, isn't he?
Entrance on the side, yeah. Well, Tom wasn't going to roll over there and have his tummy tickled, was he?
I thought Coronel almost backed out of it there.
Whoa, hang on a minute. We've got a race not for second, but for the lead here. Tiago Monteiro senses the chance, maybe, somehow, possibly, to pull something out on Ivan Muller.
Muller's car looks as though it's sliding around a lot through there.
Now, has he done what Coronel has, backed the car off for minimum drag? If he has, he might be paying for it. He might be paying for it in tyre wear. He might be paying for it by Tiago being able to stay close through all the technical sections of the track. And maybe close enough, and that's Ma in the barriers. Or is it Lopez in the barriers? It is Ma. Big slide from Qinghua Ma. The tail finally gave up and could not hang on to it any longer. And Ma in the barriers. Lopez goes by and breathes another sigh of relief, as does Victoire, and that means that Lopez is now up to 4th place.
Never mind them having their heart in their mouth. I was holding my breath at that point.
Yeah, not as much as change of trousers for Qinghua Ma, I think. Here is the battle for victory on board with Jaap van Lagen. He had a lunge at Tom Coronel that didn't quite work out. I think he might have. Right, let's figure out where we are on the lap now. That's Ma.
The rear goes on just on the corner entry. Oh, he gets away with it. Just kisses the barrier, both sides.
Wow.
Oh, no, maybe a bit of a heavier one on that side.
Yeah. Victoire, you need to stop watching these races. Go and find a book to read or something. It's as stressful outside the car as it is inside. And the Castrol Honda mechanics and all the Honda men here are wondering what else is happening.
So to hold it.
4 kilometers in, that's early on, isn't it?
That could have been a lot worse than it was.
Yes, it was. Well, it could have been indeed.
It's almost like he got on he put his left rear wheel on the paint on the outside as he turned in.
That's just before Flugplatz, isn't it? That's early in the lap, and that, look how much it lifted the car. That's a big old.
He could have easily
spat
back across in front of Lopez.
Absolutely. He nearly collected Lopez, nearly collected Loeb as well. So the rescue team on site to drag him away, because of course this is the last lap for our cars, but the track will be busy all weekend.
Muller's still very, very much under pressure.
Yeah, talk about under the gun. If Ivan has kept anything, he better produce it from the top hat soon, because those two Hondas are close enough that they could both be looking at him down the long straight at the end of the lap. But we've got a long way to go before we get there.
Muller needs this win. He needs this win for the championship.
Well, he's not going to get away down here, is he? This is the run down towards the lowest part of the track.
We're past there now, Martin. We're on the run
up to Bergwerk.
So you can see that Citroen just stretch its legs against the Hondas. Need to get back to the technical section.
And yet now we're in top gear with Tiago. He's actually closing. Look, you can see that Ivan is not getting further away. He's getting a fraction closer.
I mean, these Hondas are working as well as a pair here.
Yeah.
Muller just manages to stretch his legs when they get into those high gears.
Yeah. But It's tight and twisty before they get to Dottingerhöhe and the long final straight on the lap.
Lopez is coming into the action as well now.
Yes,
so
he is. You can see him in the background. Can't see him in the shot on the right.
this
There
could help
he is
to
as they
take
get
the
to the
pressure off Muller
carousel.
a wee bit. Yeah, the wheel spin trying to get scrabble for grip as they come out the carousel.
Thiago has got to trust Gabrielli to sit behind him and allow them both to close on Muller. They could win this race if they don't squabble with each other. Lopez is coming, but Gabrielli might have to drop back and defend against him, because there could be two Hondas on the podium here. Gabrielli is being caught by Lopez, and as Lopez gets behind the Honda mat, it's starting to slow Gabrielli. That extra car in his slipstream is causing drag on the Honda, but look, on the twistier stuff again, Thiago Montero is closing on Ivan Muller.
Yeah, Lopez is going to have someone. Gabrielli almost needs to back him way back in the technical section away from Montero, so Montero can have a clear crack at Muller.
Well, this is through Wippermann. They've just gone through Wippermann over the left-hander at Eschbach, and Thiago Montero getting closer and closer to Ivan Muller. Lopez a little closer to the third place car of Gabriele Tarquini as they sweep right through Brunschen, though. Thiago is nearly close enough to Muller. He's got to stay there somehow through these high-speed sweepers.
It's almost touching distance, isn't it?
It's so fast and so close. Now Muller stretches his legs from Flansgarten up towards Schwalbenschwanz. But again, Thiago closing in the left-hander. Down into the mini carousel. And Thiago is right with Ivan Muller. Has the Citroën got enough grunt and enough slipperiness down the straight as they exit Dottingerhöhe? Thiago Montero is where he needs to be, but then for third, so is Jose Maria Lopez. And Muller seems to have got a little bit of air in front of him. Here we go on the straight. Muller from Montero. Montero's not going to catch him, so watch the car at the back of the group. Jose Maria Lopez, he's right behind Gabriele Tarquini. Tarquini has got no defense. Lopez has got the toe and the engine power to go right by for third. And I don't think that Montero is going to catch Muller before they get to the end of the lap. Here comes Muller, he's already gone by him. Montero got by Muller, and Muller repasses the same as he do at Spa.
That's
and
Lopez. That's
is
Lopez.
right. Was that Lopez went by them both?
Unbelievable.
So Ivan Muller is going to lead out to the final corner. Jose Maria Lopez jumped both Citroën and both
could win it.
Hondas, and Lopez is looking at Muller for victory, but it's a 1-2 for Citroën, a 3-4 for Honda. Wow, what a finale. Thiago Montero and Gabriele Tarquini could both have ended up on the podium, might almost have won it, but we saw there, Matt, undoubtedly the power of the Citroën engine just hauling them through the air faster than their rivals can manage.
Yeah, never mind drag or anything like that. I think the Honda boys need to go back to the drawing board on the, just need some more grunt. They need more GGs.
Wow, wow, wow. Ivan Muller victorious, Jose Maria Lopez second, Thiago Montero makes it onto the podium in third. What the... Ivan Muller, race win number 2 of the season for him. He won the second race in Morocco. He wins the second race here on the Nordschleife. And it's another race victory, and it's a monumental track on which to claim a race victory. But behind him, third on the podium, remarkably, Jose Maria Lopez. Matt Neal extends his championship lead again.
He's just got a habit. He's just there. I mean, you would say after, with 1 lap to go, he was out of it. He was back in 5th or 6th place, then the Mar incident, and then you think, Well, that's put too much air between him and the leading pack. And then he just, through the technical sections 2, 3, 4, he closed them down. And then he was there just perfectly positioned to pick up the slipstream. And, you know, you never thought he'd do both the Hondas and then end up right in Muller's wheel tracks.
Well, Thiago Monteiro, third place on the podium, but when he came out of the car and slammed the door behind him, he didn't look as happy as he's smiling there. He definitely had an opportunity in his mind, I think, to win this race. It might not have been a big opportunity, but he had a chance. But just the speed of the Citroens on the straight was too much. Lopez closed. And then because the two Hondas were separated by a few car lengths, he was able to leapfrog both of them. Even if they'd been together nose to tail, he might not have got to them and got by both. Wow. Remarkable finish to a remarkable weekend. The first ever such for the World Touring Car Championship on the Nürburgring Nordschleife. The first of a 3-year deal. So they're going to have to go away and ruminate on this for 12 months and come back and try and do it a little bit better next year.
Well, I'm excited about that. You know, when they said a 3-year deal, you weren't sure what the racing's going to be like. Yep. The racing's been better than we have every other weekend. Yep. I mean, it's absolutely, I wish we could do every weekend on here. Well,
it's fascinating. You know, you give people a classic track to race on and you get good racing, generally speaking. You go to the famous, you know, the legendary tracks, Monza, Spa. They're not legendary because they're old. They're legendary because they're good, and we're still going back to them even though they are old, because they're good racing tracks. And the Nordschleife, it's exactly the same. Well, 3-lap race. He only had to hold them off down the straight 3 times, but boy, that was hard work for Ivan. And it's a very, very different race dynamic here. Well, we'll hear from our race leader now, well, race winner, because he's with Alex.
Ivan Muller, you needed the win, you wanted the win, and we're better to do it than here at the Nürburgring. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. It was a tough weekend for me, and then race 2, I was focused on my start, like the first race, and then we were very aggressive on the aerodynamic downforce, very low. Quite bad in sector 4, but very fast in the straight, and the strategy worked.
Talk us through that last lap. You have Pachito breathing down your, coming down, like Thiago's right on your tail. Pachito takes him.
I did just the minimum I needed to win because, you know, the first lap the car was very good, still good on the second lap, but you know, with less downforce like I had, the car was complicated to drive on the last lap. So then on the braking area was some water, so I said, okay, no risk, anyway they will not pass. So and I will do a nice finish.
Well done, Ivan.
Well, it was all planned. It was all part of the great plan. But, you know, as we suggested, the thing's very quick in a straight line. Look at his wing there. You can actually see the wing is not generating grip. It's actually generating lift on the back of the car. It's backed off below flat. Remarkable.
Third place, Thiago Monteiro. Looked like he might take the win halfway around that last lap. Were you asking Alessandro Mariani for some more speed, Thiago?
Yeah, I think we've been asking for that for a while now. I mean, what can we say? I mean, we've been working on that for 3 years now. It's been our weaknesses. The car is not as fast on the straight lines, we know that. We were just hoping that our speed in the corners, which is very good here, we were very strong. I was putting pressure on Ivan quite a lot. He was struggling a bit, but then there's just too much speed difference. So unless we find a real solution there, it's going to be very tough.
And when you get into the emotion box, I saw you slamming some doors. Unlike you, but the frustration really starting to flow out.
Well, you know, yeah. You take a lot of risks. You work very hard, and we keep pounding the same key. You know, the same key, same problem. So it's frustrating, I must say. I know everybody's working hard. I mean, I'm with them. You know, the whole team is working very hard. But come on, it's hard when you take so much risk here. Every weekend we push very hard, and there's always something missing. So yeah, frustration sometimes comes in.
It's nice to see you on the podium. I'll see you up there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, he will be happy to be on the podium here for Honda. And for the World Touring Car Championship, I think we can mark that as a very entertaining and successful first visit to the Nürburgring at Nordschleife. Matt, it's a track of enormous risk and challenge, as Thiago said. You know, every weekend, every day they're in a racing car, they're pushing 100% right to the ragged edge. But here, without the safety net, I mean, realistically, as we saw from Ma, the tiniest mistake is always going to be punished hard.
It's the one. It's the track for the fearless and the brave, and it's the one you're going to cherish. You know, when you look back in your resume in the future, it's one of those ones you're going to be really proud of.
Jaap van Lagen finishing in 9th place at the end of the race after a good battle up the order. Rob Huff in 7th from those two larders that didn't even complete a lap in race 1. So a good recovery from them. And Sabine Smits, Gregoire de Moustier 11th and 12th behind John Philippi, who claimed that 10th position for himself at the end of race 2. Mehdi Banani's car is down there as the top Yokohama independent finisher. He was in 6th position behind Muller, Lopez, Montero, Tarquini and Loeb. Rob Huff 7th, Tom Coronel in 8th place again, didn't complete a lap in race 1. 9th for Jaap van Lagen and 10th John Philippi, rounding out the points scorers. So Jose Maria Lopez, very successful visit to the Nordschleife. Victory in race 1, second in race 2. And pole position gave him an extra 5 points as well after qualifying. So pretty much, I would think, as good a weekend as he might have expected.